70.
60 or 70, yeah, something in that ballpark. 2/3.
I don't know. I just got it.
I wouldn't trust the 2/3 though. I'm a Pfizer 89er, so that's actually higher than
That's
that.
what I would. Yeah. I mean, they get. I think that's all. Is that all they have here?
Pfizer? No, they have Moderna here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Some place in town actually has Johnson & Johnson as well, because that's what Gary would get. But
Hmm.
that's neither here nor there. Welcome to the
Hey.
Effing Movie Podcast. This is Nathan. That's Mason. That's Bryce. I'm Dylan. And today, we're talking about Zack Snyder's worst attempt at making Inception, Sucker Punch.
You know, I wouldn't have made that immediate connection,
No.
but I get it.
I don't
Movies
get
and
it.
movies.
This guy gave it a 10. He's
This-
always thinking about Inception.
This is a Shutter Island try, is what this is.
It's a little bit of both.
I really like Shutter Island though.
It's
And I really
very
like
similar.
Inception. I wonder if this will
Similar.
translate to our score on the movie. But before we start talking about
It won't.
Zack Snyder's original Sucker Punch, Nathan, what are we playing?
We're playing
Damn, she
Alice
busty.
the
Yes.
Madness Returns. I feel like it's a little bit appropriate. We've got a girl going crazy in her own little world, so very similar themes.
This is how she's dealing with the trauma of reality and about to be lobotomy.
She just fell down a hole, man.
Yeah.
Look at that snout. I bet it could be peppered.
That could be a peppered snout.
Oh, she's actually telling you to pepper.
Yeah.
Oh, we actually get to see it peppered? Hell yeah. Alright, so, yeah, the game just made sense. There's a nice of a silver, similar, plotline threshold there that I'm looking for.
Just hoping that this one doesn't take Mason's attention like it did last week.
Oh,
with
he's already
Yeah,
fully
he's already got
Look at the fairy game or whatever.
We want to see some peppered
I
snout!
want this woman to be off the screen as
Yeah.
soon as possible.
Her name has to be something Russian, right? Like
Oh, it has to be.
Helga Gorlukovich or something.
Olga is her name. I'm
Oh
sure.
yeah, that's true. Helga's a young
It
woman.
definitely does feel like.
Okay, but before we go any further, we have to see these snout.
Pepper the snout.
Pepper the snouts.
Dude, you have a pepper grinder.
Oh.
I think I gotta get into a fight with some
The
bolter
bolter
flies.
Okay, well,
Well, to start it off, as always, though, we're going to need a summary of what happened in this movie. And Dylan, how about you tell us what happened in this movie?
shit, I'll try. So, Sucker Punch. You got Baby Doll. You got Emily Browning, the main character, who's for whatever reason I can remember the actress's name. So anyway, movie starts out with a nice little mini plot line right at the beginning. She's at a home. Her dad's doing the raping. She's like,
Is that her dad or is it like
or-
What's implied there? I didn't feel like he was
I-
raping.
I just honestly don't know. Oh,
I
it
think
very
he
much
was
looked like rape.
I'm pretty sure it's implied that every dude's,
Yes.
barring the one old dude who's Stick from
Yeah.
Daredevil. Pretty
Yeah,
much
there's the
every
Daredevil guy.
who plays nicer Stick from Daredevil in this movie. But I just get the implied impression that every man in this movie is a rapist.
Yep.
Anybody else get that feeling?
Definitely.
Like
Okay.
it definitely feels like it could be that.
I don't
but
know if it was
with
supposed to
that
be.
with that guy, I feel like it was more he was just trying to get that lady's money.
Was he taking his belt off though at some point?
Yeah.
Or-
Well, in the description it said abusive, so I mean I think it's
Yeah.
just implied for anything. But anyway,
Let's go with
So-
rape, Dylan.
Anyway, so he's about to do the rape, and she starts to do the blasting, and it all kind of goes bing, bang, boom, and then we're in an asylum because this movie does not care about beats. So anyway, so he's there. He's talking to Oscar Isaac of all people. What a young snap he is in this film. And he bribes him off. He's one of these attendees, and he's like, "Hey, make her disappear. Deal with her." He's like, "I got you." So they pretty much sign her up for lobotomy, and then the movie turns into the lasagna. So the top real world stuff going on is that she's at this mental asylum about to begin a lobotomy, and she's just drifting off into her head. So then we've got the other world where she's like a dancer, hooker.
She's like
Sex
a
worker.
superhero.
Yeah.
Oh, you
This
mean
is before that
Oh,
one.
what
Yeah,
before
so yeah,
that?
This is layer two.
Because this is Inception.
Yes. So
Yeah.
layer 2 is that she is at an orphanage, and she meets all these other orphans. That all the orphans are also erotic dancers / sex workers. No slut shaming here. And I don't know why they all need to be high class dancers though too, but that's neither here nor there. So anyway, in the midst of all of that, she dances, and then she goes into the action world, which is world number 3 for those keeping up at home. And this is just where they just do. Zack Snyder wanted to make his
Dude,
comic book movie.
easily some of the best parts of this
Oh,
for
whole
sure.
movie,
Like,
especially
very,
the first scene.
very cool scenes.
Mhm.
The first one was super cool. I thought the dragon stuff was pretty neat too.
Yeah.
It was just a highlight reel of some of the coolest scenes in movies. The dragon scene was just this is Rain of Fire, but
A little bit, yeah.
a little flashier.
Right. It had a better budget than
And
Rain of
newer.
Fire. Right.
I will just say, just for the part doing the summary, I highly disagree with all of you on that, but not to lengthen the summary, I will still pass it on to Dylan.
I'm half and half on the action, but we'll get to that. So anyway, long story short, then we start playing Who's Your Least Favorite Girl, because they all start dying. And long story short, somebody gets a lobotomy. If you want to find out, stay tuned until the end of the review.
Yeah.
But one person also gets away and meets Stick, the bus driver.
Well, who you never expect. I mean,
I guess he had to be in the
because
real
she's
world
kind of
somewhere.
like, she, you know, the girl who gets away is definitely like the
like least
prissy-
deserving person to
yeah,
probably
like,
get away.
like the bitchier one
Yeah.
from the very beginning.
Bitchy older sister.
But you know what? Just starting at the very beginning, the freaking soundtrack of this movie.
Oh boy.
I loved it. I
Yeah.
love the covers. There's like 3 covers straight back to back to back.
Mhm.
And then afterwards it's just this like every female artist, actually I'm sorry, every song after like the first 20 minutes is like a female artist with just this hard rock kind of version.
Right.
It could be a version of a song, but guess what? They found a different version. They made it original. But I really actually like the music from this movie.
I did not.
I
This
knew you
felt
did.
like
There it is.
there's a certain amount of music that there's a certain amount of music that's normal through a movie. There's a little bit where like a little bit more than that. It's like, all right, they're kind of like really focusing on music in this movie. And then there's this freaking movie where it's just
It's in the background.
it's just
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And it's a super focal point of the direction.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's always slowed down. Like, everything that's happening on screen is slowed down when music is playing. And it just drove me mad with just how much
Is that Pepper?
they kept just using music throughout the whole thing. I could not stand it.
See, I get it.
So that's why whenever before we even started watching this film, I had mentioned that this film to me was just a very long music video.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
you did say that. I didn't remember that.
I'll give you credit. I definitely agree that it feels much more like a 2-hour music video than it does a well put together movie, in my opinion. And it's not to say that it's bad. I mean, whatever. Like, you're doing the technically 3 movie in a movie thing, and my favorite movie is
Yeah.
Inception. So I'm gonna start faulting you
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you
Well,
either
okay,
nail the
so
landing
has
or you don't.
Inception
No,
already
this
been
was before
out?
Inception. So if we
Okay.
really want to start saying, he
Yeah.
did it before Inception.
Yeah.
But Nolan knew what he was doing when he did this one, and Snyder wanted to just make pretty things with pretty women, and also
Oh,
create
no,
diva early.
definitely.
No. If Mad Max can get away with it, this movie can too. Mad Max, it's the exact same thing. It's like a 4 female lead, crazy world. Just the guys are bad.
That's fair to say that
It's not
an-
there's
it's not an
a
unfair
comparison
comparison.
to be
Okay.
made
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to like sit there and ridicule it too much because this movie is obviously just a fantasy, crazy music video. It's
Right.
It's nuts, and it's also a look into the psyche.
Mm.
And that's all it is. Like I don't know. I don't think that it's supposed to be taken
So-
so incredibly serious.
So incredibly serious and symbolically.
Yeah.
I think that's my problem with my take. Like my biggest con against this movie is that I feel like it's trying to do something more deep and symbolic, and it just wasn't landing for me. Like, cause listen, there are times where when the movie's trying to be like deep and symbolic, and it does it very tastefully, and you're left wondering, like you want to go and. Like, there are just movies that you watch and you're like, I want to know what this movie was trying to tell me, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you're genuinely interested in seeing what the message behind all of
You
this
maybe
is.
look into the Wikipedia afterwards and see
Right.
if there's any like crazy deep meaning.
Right.
At
Like-
the end, you're just like, no, actually, there wasn't.
After watching, like, Get Out or, like, This Is Us, I was just like, I know there's a lot of racial things to it, but, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on, and I want to see those small little symbolisms or things like that, you know?
Yeah.
But then with this movie, it just felt like I was just like, I don't care if it's deeper. Like, and this is coming from somebody who's like, it's very in the psych ward mentality and very much on the old school psych lobotomy people. And I'm just like, this is even trying to cater to me, and I just don't care.
You even have John Hamm doing it.
No, John Hamm. And I was like, I love John
Hamm
Hamm.
had like 4 words spoken in this entire
And it was-
movie.
Oh gosh, and what John Hamm too says is like, I remember thinking kind of inappropriate. It was just
It's
like,
like, whoa, was she looking at me? Like,
Yeah.
how about that?
Yeah.
See,
was
you see how
that-
she was looking at me right there?
and then there was another one that was just like, oh, it's like she didn't want it or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what it is. And I remember thinking like, that's an inappropriate line for this movie.
Totally.
Like, but
Well, and he is also being critical of his own profession.
he is
Yeah,
like
questioning.
I mean,
whether
it's
or
John
not
But
Hamm.
he's still
Listen,
doing it.
he's like,
Well,
I
he's like,
hate
I
this
don't-
for me.
Exactly. He's like, I've been doing this a lot, and I'm not even sure if this is the right answer. That's basically what he says.
Hey, which is the most realistic part of the whole movie. I think a lot of
Yeah.
psychologists were like, I don't know why this is a thing, but I get paid a lot of money to do it. So
Exactly.
ching, ching, ching.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I'm going to piggyback off
What you
Dylan's
call
point of stop Asian hate.
I don't like that you say that ironically, Price, but go ahead and go back on it.
Whatever, take it as you will.
I will.
I was gonna piggyback off your point that like those battle scenes or whatever felt like they were really trying to say something, but they just went on for so long and it felt so repetitive to me that I just tuned out completely by the second one because I just got really tired of seeing that because the biggest thing that I've always said about any movie we've ever watched is the biggest thing that will tank a score faster for me than anything else is if
The
I.
lack of dawn.
It's
Rolling out scenes.
It's
the Quentin Tarantino.
It's if it feels
Yeah.
like it's wasting
Special.
if it's wasting my time. And this movie wasted so much of my damn time
It was
that
an hour 45
I didn't want to do
minutes.
anything
I actually
else.
ended up watching
I-
Those
I
battle
on
scenes
accident,
were
and
so
it was 2
pointless.
hours.
See
They
that.
didn't
So-
move. They didn't move the plot along, and they did nothing. The only time you
is
could
there
argue.
nothing to be said for like something
Spectacle.
just being
It's
a spectacle
visual,
worth
yeah.
watching?
But it doesn't move the story along. Even like Pro Mare's action scenes at
Oh, here
least
we
had
go.
a point. Like at least they're moving the plot along.
You
Those
mean it's
did
an anime
nothing.
and it always gets its credit because it's an anime? Is that what you're trying to
No,
say?
I'm saying like even those like gratuitously long battle scenes have a point. Like they're usually
Yeah, they make my eyes hurt.
Mason, you're not making any points right here.
No.
Neither are you.
Yes, I am.
All right, so in my rare occurrence of somewhat agreeing with Price on this, I'm fairly torn because the first one I had, I was like, all right, this is entertaining. The first time I introduced it, I was like, whatever. This is Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder's gonna do his spectacle stuff. Like that's your expectation. So I had again, expectation is everything with movies. So if you go in expecting secretly a superhero movie being injected into whatever he's gonna do, like I saw this coming before and I knew it was coming this time. The first time through, I was like, all right, so like the snow and the samurai fight, I'm like, I'm on board. This is still like, I was like, it's still visually pretty and engaging.
I was in it with you there.
But here's where I'm with Price is the second one, the like World War steampunk drag one. That one did drag, and I remember thinking I was like, zombie Nazis and all of that. I was like, this is going on for a little bit longer than what I feel like is comfortable. That being said, we did get Diva from Jamie Chung, literally
Yes.
planted into the movie.
Jamie Chung was.
We see you,
a
Blizzard.
delight. Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie Chung coming in with her thing, and then she gets the. But that's later in World 2. Either that aside, I felt like the second one dragged, and then the third one, I like dragons are just sweet. I love dragons. I'm gonna be that fantasy nerd, but I do admit that I felt that one went on a little longer than this
There was
as well.
like the first one. It didn't
I feel
help
like
it.
that one was fairly tight. I do agree that the Nazi one was a bit of a longer drag that
Yeah.
made sense, but the dragon one.
But every time she shot, there was just like weird light holes that would come
Yeah.
through. Like I don't know. I think that the best one was the first one. And that
Oh,
was,
by far.
That
Yeah, I
was
agree with
not a strong suit for the movie because like after that first one, when she had to take down those 3 things, and then it was the World War II, which was and then the dragon was it was cool, but then it just kept going and nothing ever topped.
Why
it.
don't you argue with me when you're agreeing with me right now?
No, I liked all of the scenes, but the thing is, like, I think this movie, how much time do you think is like the ratio where like it was the
Action.
the-
World
yeah,
3
action
compared to
versus-
everything else?
Yes, I think it's half and half, and I think that they knew that they were going to do that.
Just about, yeah. But this is coming to either possibly a strength or a weakness for the movie, depends on how it lands for you. But I remember at one line on the dragon one that, and this is where I felt like it was long, was just whenever what's her face is shooting at the dragon with the thing, and she's telling it something. I don't remember what the line was, but she's like about to go say fuck, and because it's a PG-13 movie, she just starts blasting the gun, and mouths it, but you know what she's like trying to say. And in that part right there, I felt challenged to be like, okay, this feels like it's very geared towards the teenage boy mentality. Like,
That's a freak. Look at what they were dressed
and listen,
as.
yeah,
The
Like,
entire time.
yeah.
The schoolgirl
if
outfit.
anything,
that
we
part
need to
didn't
talk
lose me
about
either.
that. Like,
yeah, and we'll come back to that. So I won't finish this thought and then come into like the costumes because that plays a big part with it. The movie plays very much as a teenage boy fantasy by nature, but then that part just reminded me that I was very in a PG-13 world, and something about that was like, oh God. Like I immediately got that. Yeah, I got that jarring tone, and the rest of that scene just felt ruined for me because of it. Like I felt like everything else lost its like it's not as at stake, but it's gravity, you know?
Yeah, maybe
like
a little bit.
And with the illusion of it being an R movie without using the language and the blood, like I was like, okay, I feel like I'm a little bit more real in this,
I
but
didn't realize that it wasn't an R movie, but I
I
mean,
know,
it
it's
makes
strange.
sense. It wasn't any
Right.
cussing. There was a
No.
lot of like rape sort of innuendo.
yeah, but this is
Uh,
America, baby. We don't care about that. PG-13.
Well, and, like scantily dressed, like
As long as they don't show titties
Yeah.
or dong, which
Yeah.
is fucked up. We should be able to see dong in PG movies. Guys,
please.
dong for the children. Hashtag.
Isn't it pretty wild though that like this movie was basically like a female lead heavy, not even like a heroine. It was just like a superhero full of girls, right?
Yeah.
But they also dressed them like that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a progressive political argument that could sit there and say that there's women empowerment behind the sex act and how they dress, and fair. I mean,
Yeah.
again, I'm not gonna be able to argue that, nor am I the person to argue that decision.
True.
I ain't touching it.
I
But
am though.
that Bryce can. He can take
Bryce
all
just
the
does this.
Take
Yeah.
point on that.
That being said, though, for me, I'm watching all that stuff, and I'm like, the dressing and like the schoolgirl for like fetishizing throughout the whole thing. Would I say it bothered me? Not necessarily, but because it had context, it had like a thing
Yeah.
for it. World 3 is all based off World 2. World 2 is the idea that they're like sex workers / like stripper dancers.
Yeah.
So fetishizing the thing made sense, but again, like, is that credit where credit's due to Zack Snyder? He's like, how can I make an excuse to dress them up like this? And like, he just put that plot line there. So okay, that's the most cohesive thing about the plot that I'll give him is that from start to finish, he made the movie sexually driven across the board as like the driving force, and I'm like, okay, he did do that. Like, it goes from rape into fetishizing into everything else. So, but. Maybe there's some of that symbolic thing there that he's wanting us to get from it, but I don't care enough, Zach. I'm not gonna go watch it or your 4-hour Justice League.
Oh, I did.
I'll probably get around to watching
Kudos.
it. Actually.
Kudos.
But anyway, other thoughts.
So, like, I know you guys have a lot of criticism for the action scenes.
Yes.
To me, this movie, like, all the stuff in between was me just waiting for the action scenes to come, because I'd
Right.
seen it before, and those were the scenes that I thought were just kind of fun, silly little like vignette stories.
And they were so like the parts in between all the action parts were so short lived, and like all of it was just like a little, basically a to-do list. Hey,
Yeah.
we got to get this key. Okay, cool. Well, we got to
It
get
was
this
just
map.
like the setup for how they were in, not even in the real world, in layer
Yeah.
2, going to do a thing, and
Yeah.
then it plays out in a very fantastical story while she's dancing, which you never see her
Never
actually
see her dance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is fucked up.
I was ready to see her dance at the end. I was like,
I want
what
to
are
see her
these
dance
people
and
like,
get
it's gotta
blown
be
away or
amazing.
something.
I mean,
you know?
it's
right.
it's mind blowing.
People are bringing tears. Like,
Yeah.
it's just.
Those action scenes didn't do enough to keep me interested, and they're ultimately inconsequential to the plot, which is why I just
think that
tuned
is the
out
plot,
during
though.
the.
Yeah, I mean that
It's
it's
like,
they're
I
it's
didn't like
literally
that.
the plot only exists to get you to those scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
didn't-
maybe also. All right, I'm gonna move on. I think. Because I don't think we're gonna win anybody over with saying like that they were great or that they weren't. I think
Right.
we all just have our own.
Yeah,
little
we all
senses.
just
So-
have our
but-
own opinion.
The ending, I really, really enjoy. I don't know what the fuck happens to her. Like, is she's not dead? I'm pretty sure.
No, she just straight gets lobotomy.
She's
Yeah.
like definitely different. The girl randomly just makes it out, which sure the story's all of a sudden about her. That's fine, whatever. And the whole time, like the guy gets what he deserves. You know, like this scumbag who's
Oscar
obviously
Isaac gets Carla Gugino,
exactly.
essentially.
Which you said it earlier. He's like so young looking
Yeah.
in this movie.
That's wild to think. That man
What if you
looks-
couldn't walk on that?
Did
naked?
that
What if
girl-
you just walked out there and you
Yeah.
just plummeted?
In the second world though, that's where that girl got out. Did she actually get out in the real world
Yeah,
too?
she got out.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
that. They mentioned that
They
whenever
say it.
they're talking to the lobotomist
Right,
about
oh, yeah,
how she
there's
like
this
got like she
She
helped
started the
one
fire.
of her. Yeah, like
No,
she
I remember
actually-
all that. I just remember at the very end though, I thought was when.
Oh yeah, that's whenever she meets
Yeah, she
Stick
meets
in
Stick.
World 1, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, she actually does get out.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that was still World 2.
Which
I don't
like you can. I mean, I don't really care whether or not she got out.
I don't
anyways,
either.
but I do think that it wasn't for nothing.
She was
Like,
the
this
least
movie-
deserving character to get out, to be honest.
This movie
Yeah.
could have just sat there and been like, oh, here's a really cool world. Here's all these cool action scenes. By the way, she's also dead. Like, but it didn't do that. It was like,
Yeah.
here's a side character that, yeah, we'll let her live. I guess we'll let her get out.
Here's one of the things that seems odd to me. Do they not? It's like very quickly into her being in the institution, go to lobotomize her, and then it cuts into World 2, and
Oh, you
Yeah,
don't
it
see
feels
it
like in
an
real world
ounce of
time, it's
time.
like 5 minutes between
yeah,
she gets
so
there
it's
and
like,
her
how
death.
did any of the rest of this stuff happen?
They said
if
5
they were
days.
about to
Right.
lobotomize her.
At the very beginning, yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess that was just a ploy to sit there and say, well, could all of this stuff happen in 5 days?
I guess we'll find out.
And it did. I mean, I guess. And it's
We're not going to show you, but we will make it feel like minutes have passed
Well,
by.
they
and we'll
showed
go
us.
on.
They showed us in probably a
Well-
much more interesting and cool.
Fair. Would I
Yeah.
would I rather watch the first and third action scenes more than that? I mean, yeah, fair. But yeah, I mean, I don't particularly got any other big thoughts. I think I was gonna have something with like, this is similar
what?
to comedy. You know how I make the argument about comedies that they're you write the jokes first and then you write the plot to make it make sense, right? This was action scenes, but then they wrote the plot to make it
I was
make
gonna
sense.
say I don't remember any comedic points.
No, there definitely wasn't.
Yeah, I gotcha.
You know what's funny? Oscar Isaac getting blasted at the end, as he pulled off at the end anyway. He got what was coming to him. An incredible career after Sucker Punch.
His absolute deserving.
Yeah.
What about Vanessa Hudgens? Just randomly as one of these random girls.
Whatever. She was randomly attractive. I
She was
think.
randomly attractive, just like all the other.
All the other ones
randomly
were all
attractive.
randomly attractive as well.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
It was cool. I
That's
don't really. Emily, credit where credit's due. Like Emily Browning definitely felt like a good main lead for this one because I
You know
know
what?
you could have given that to Malone or
Jenna Malone.
Jenna
was
Malone
in
could have
it.
been the lead on that one.
Abby
or
Cornish was the one who made it out, which is in a few
Yeah.
things, but you don't.
arguably could have been the lead, but
Yeah.
you're never gonna
I
give
thought-
the Asians the lead role in that movie because
Jamie Chung?
you're never gonna give it to Jamie.
Well, what I thought too at the very beginning, and I was worried, was Emily Browning's character didn't speak for the first like 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And I swear I was gonna be so mad if she
If
just
she was just a mute character.
if she was
Right.
just like living in her head, like not saying a
Yeah.
word. Oh.
See, I don't know. I feel like okay, so I'll admit that her appearance and just like Browning, I think, strangely enough, shines with her
That's
her
the-
physical acting more so than her like.
She's a
dialogue
really
and stuff.
pretty face. Like they
Right.
were gonna like play that off. and
She
then-
has that like damsel in despair like
Jesus.
mentality, right?
that
So.
tea kettle right there in
Yeah.
that building.
So I think she sets the good melancholy tone that the movie is gonna sit there and wind down to not necessarily have a good ending for her. But then like I get to her lines, and then there are some times where it's just like, fuck less. Like,
Yeah.
not to be misogynistic, but just less writing in general for this movie, I think.
Are her lips really like that in real life, or did they do that just for
Yeah.
this movie?
No, they're very plump on that one. If you see her in
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty, American Gods, she's in that TV series that
I
got
don't know.
canceled. But yeah,
My
she's-
girlfriend and I kept saying it just looked like she got stung by bees.
maybe she did. Maybe
just-
Zack Snyder stung
They
her
ju-
with bees.
They just constantly just.
This is Hollywood,
swarm
baby.
her with
Yeah.
That's how it
bees.
looked like. And she also said, and I quote, "I would rather be stung like bees than have to watch this movie again." So
Oh,
she was also she hated it more than I did.
Wow.
She was not a fan.
Yeah.
And
This
that was not the extended cut either.
Can we agree?
There's an extended cut.
Yeah, it's like 15
This
extra
is a
minutes.
Nathan Long movie.
Oh yeah, this
Through
movie.
and through, this movie.
It made
has
sense that you didn't watch
every
movies
bit
in
of him.
2000s, but you did catch this one.
Yeah.
You tuned in for this one.
You caught V for Vendetta and this movie in the 2000s era, and that was it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
All I could think of.
it's definitely just a lot of flash and not really like any deep substance.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be a lot deeper, to be honest. I think you guys were saying that earlier. or
Right.
something weird. But I was actually very happy that it was very simple compared to
Yeah.
what it was leading on to.
That's true.
And like I said, it was just it's Shutter Island. Like Inception, sure too. I think Inception's obviously
Shutterception.
Yeah, Shutterception because
Shutterception.
Inception's way deeper than this.
Yeah.
Shutter Island is just like a cool pull the rug out from under you at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Big deal. So, but yeah, that's really all I
Yeah,
got.
I mean, I think that's a good winding down point to getting into our next segment. The question. What is it?
It's supposed to be Nathan. It's his movie.
I don't know. Nathan, what's the question?
Hmm.
What's better, this or Alice?
Would I rather watch this or Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I didn't really plan one ahead this time.
Best character.
I do a freebie then.
Yeah.
Go ahead, ask the
You
audience.
can call a friend on this one. Not me. I don't prepare questions.
Do you feel like the down the rabbit hole trope that is played, like the Alice in Wonderland trope, is something that does get played too often? Do you think there's a film that does it really well?
There's a small indie little animated flick from Disney called Alice in Wonderland that excels in it. But
I haven't heard of it.
no, I'm sitting here, and yeah, I mean, it's definitely a trope, but I'm sitting here trying to think of other movies that do it, and I'm having a hard time thinking of other ones off the top of my head. Aside from the literal Alice in Wonderlands.
There's one with Paul Walker in it. I think it's called The
Fast and the
Lazarus
Furious?
Effect. Yes, Fast and Furious. That's the one I was thinking of. It's called The Lazarus Effect, and it does the exact same thing. He lives this whole thing out, and then guess what? At the end, you realize that he was the one who committed the crime. And
Is the number 23 an example of this?
the number 20, sort of. That one
Ooh.
is very chaotic, though.
Man.
Talk about a good Jim Carrey movie.
Yeah,
I know, right?
actually. I always forget about that film.
I randomly remember it at times
Yeah,
like this.
I rather
It's
enjoyed it.
way different than all the other stuff. Dude, that thing.
Yeah,
So,
that thing just snuck
I
up.
guess to that exact point, my answer would say, no, I guess it's not overplayed, because I can't think of movies that have done it
You
enough
know
for me
what?
to be like, oh, I'm super bothered that it
I'm going to say yes, it is, because there's nothing worse than one of those movies, and then at the very end, you realize that either nothing
Yeah.
happened or they were the one the entire time who's like the reason why they're in the situation. And it
Yeah.
wasn't, you know.
Well, if that's the
person
case, then
down
you
the
could argue
street.
that Fight Club is that.
Fight
Yeah.
Club is it's not the
Exactly
same.
that kind of movie.
Well, any like psychological like making someone up or
Right.
imagination just takes over.
See, I'm okay
It's
with
the same
that.
thing.
I'm okay with the imagination taking over and doing that stuff because, I mean, again, it's psychological in nature, and that's something that's appealing to me by design. So, like, I guess I'm less bothered by that overall. But this one is very on the nose with its, inspiration as far as that stuff goes. It has a very Alice. I mean, look at it on screen right now.
Yeah.
It looks just like Alice
It's
in
this.
Wonderland. This
Yeah.
movie looks just like Alice in Wonderland. Look, she's about to go steam up a dress.
Steam.
Anyway, scores?
Oh shit, Nathan.
I'm good with it.
Price. Hit it, buddy.
All right, works for me. Again, I was not a fan of this movie, as you can tell by my tone and what only things I've been saying this whole discussion. But I do agree with Basin to a point that I did like the ending. That like people actually died, which I wasn't expecting. And I mean the protagonist is not left in a good place, which was really surprising. And the one person that you really didn't really care for to get away got away. That was honestly the only redeeming thing I liked about this movie. Everything else I hated. I hated how it was dark the entire time.
Oh, that color tone was kind of cool.
I hated how they did the volume on this movie. It does the thing where it's super quiet when people are talking, and then I have to turn it all the way down whenever the music comes on.
Yeah.
And then every time the music comes on, it just did the slow motion thing so much
It
that
did.
I was so
did.
sick of it. Like the first, like when Dylan was doing the narration of the beginning of what happened at the beginning. That's something that could have been wrapped up in like 5 to 10 minutes of normal time, but since it was slow motion and going for this stupid style thing, it took like 20 minutes. It took entirely too long, and this movie did that the entire time. It wasted my time the entire time. And after the first song, see, you got me thinking about that. But after the first battle, when I realized these really don't matter at all, I tuned out the rest of the time. I would like watch them with a glazed look on my face and just not care about what is happening.
Maybe that was Zack Snyder's intention to make you feel like you had a lobotomy during that time and you were dissociating through.
Yeah.
Zack Snyder, you genius! I'm watching Justice League tonight.
You got me.
You got me, you son of a bitch.
I'm in.
Anyway, what was
For all those reasons, I'm giving it a. I was gonna be generous and give it a 3, but I'm gonna go 2.5 because I very
That
much
hurts
did not
me.
enjoy this. I did not enjoy this movie at all. I didn't. I'm not going lower because I don't know how I could, but it was not enjoyable for me at all.
Is this the dentist I can go lower?
Now look what I can do with these shorts.
Mason.
Well, I'm going to start off by saying we finally did it. We finally found another Nathan movie that has shined such a light in my eye. It has taken months, and I'm not exaggerating.
Several.
Alien didn't do it. I don't know what he picked before that, but it didn't do it. I'm pretty sure the one before that, he picked Mandy at one point.
Yeah.
There was there was Space Truckers in there too.
Oh, that was good. Come on.
That one, but it wasn't like surprise. Damn, that was a good. You know.
This was good in spite of.
This one was fun. I'm gonna go ahead and give it an 8. I think.
Woo!
Jesus.
This is his first watch. So,
Yeah, exactly. And now, granted, like you said something about the color tone earlier. I was gonna mention that too. It had this weird, like, shiny darkness to it, where it was. You know how like you can mess with the effects on like any monitor, and you can sit there and just tweak it, and it doesn't look good to anybody else. But since you put your work into it,
Yeah, it's like
it looks good to you.
It feels right to you.
Yes.
Right.
That's what this movie felt like for me. You're just like, this would not work anywhere else. But I don't know. It's an 8. I think it's very fun. It obviously knows what it's trying to do. Dude, you were just levitating me.
He's on the platform.
But yeah, so I'm just gonna land it at an 8. I think that it's definitely worth at least one watch. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere down the road I'll put it on Hulu in the background if it ever comes to it. Was it
Yeah.
on anything?
It was on Hoopla.
Wow,
Oh, I couldn't find it.
No idea what that
Wish
is.
I would've looked there.
Downloaded it. I've
Yeah,
downloaded the car.
I've become a great fan of JustWatch.com.
Yeah.
That's where I go there too to
Yeah.
find if it's streaming anywhere
Right.
for anything.
So,
I'm gonna record.
yeah, whenever you're getting your score ready, I'm a little mixed on this one. So on the rewatch on this one, I definitely liked it a lot less. I think certain stuff
Have
didn't
you
land.
watched it before?
Yeah, I've seen this movie before.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this is like my second or maybe even third rewatch of this movie. I feel like I've rewatched this movie years ago before, and I came down a little bit from there. Like, I think originally I started, and don't record this as my score, I think I probably started as an 8 whenever I originally watched this, like when it came
He's
out.
an 8!
Ah! And then...
You heard it here first!
Yeah, it probably went to like a 7 the next time I watched it, so it's only fitting that I feel a little less warm on it, but I don't feel so far down that I would say this movie is absolute garbage or bad. It's a bad movie, give or take at times, but there's enough good in it, and there's enough entertainment in there, and there's enough stuff going on that's just passable enough for me, that it's like, this didn't feel like the worst slog in the world, and I ended up secretly watching the extended cut on accident, so...
You always do.
I always
Oh,
get,
yeah.
dude, they only put out the extended
Ever
cuts.
since Lawnmower Man.
It's only your movies.
It's every time I have to download a movie, I end up getting the extended cut.
I mean,
'cause
if you're gonna buy a car, you gotta get all the package.
Exactly.
You know?
So I found that, like, and I only knew after the fact because it was like, I saw that there was one later, and I'm
Yeah.
like, how long was the one I watched? Like 207, and I'm like, how long is regular?
Was it
149.
even noticeable what was added?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
I
I'm
couldn't
sure
tell you.
it is.
Curious.
Honestly, it might have just been longer scenes. So
Price, why didn't you watch it?
right.
I
So
would have died.
all of that being said and done, it was frustrating at times. It's a little lot of cheesy sometimes. But whatever. It's like dumb fun. And it kind of knows it, so I kind of respect it for that. So I'm gonna give it a 6. It's not as fun as Reign of Fire, which is a arguably really bad movie that is way fun, and that is at least a 6.5 and 7. So
Depending on what Nathan gives the movie, I'm gonna be an idiot. I'm gonna look like an idiot.
No.
Does that surprise any of us?
no,
Mason?
honestly, because it's the first time you watch it, I'm like, nah. This movie for you on a first time watch, I expect to be kind of high because I was high on the first time I watched it too, man. Like I was like, yeah, you had a lot of fun, a lot of spectacle. On a rewatches, you're like, I know all of this already.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm not.
That's the same thing with Shutter Island. I think.
Exactly. Like
Mentioned it the other day.
some movies drop quickly off their first watch. But Nathan, tell me
I
what this
kinda
modern
enjoyed-
classic is.
I
For
almost
you.
rewatch like the rewatch of Shutter Island more.
Did
than
you watch
the
it
first
again?
time?
Mm.
I really liked it.
Some are fun when you're looking for the clues, right? To see
Yeah.
how many times the movie
That's
tells you
it.
ahead of time.
Which that movie, there probably are plenty of clues that I just,
There are,
you know.
which is really cool. Like they don't give him a gun.
Yeah, they
Stuff-
take him
stuff
away.
like that.
The
Yeah.
Prestige is great for that. Oh, rewatch the Prestige.
Big time.
But yeah, we're not talking about
That's
better.
Nolan, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
That's a really good movie.
Nathan,
So,
Hugh Jackman.
huge Jackman.
Yeah,
so
Prisoners, I don't
whenever I first put this movie up on our wheel, I initially was thinking this is probably a mistake. I feel like my memory of the
When Nathan thinks
movie,
that says something.
I
too.
love those.
Yeah.
I mean, I fairly often end up doing that, but
Yep.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
I want the conversation about the movie,
Say
so
what you
that's
will.
fine.
He always brings conversations.
He does.
With this movie, I'll say that honestly, I was quite surprised to find that it to me, held up pretty well.
Boo
Like,
this
it's-
man.
Yeah.
Boo this man.
Like, it's certainly not like a great movie, but it's all the little scenes I find very enjoyable. As I had said before, I definitely am just mostly waiting for the next action scene to happen with those like in-betweens of their struggles working at that club or whatever. That I found far less interesting. But you know, just those action scenes alone I think hold up really well, and like especially I can't remember exactly when this movie came out, but the CG
2011.
the CG is pretty good,
Yeah.
honestly. 10 years old.
Was it 11 or was it 7?
No, it's 2011.
Okay.
So
If that's the case, it came out after Inception. Fuck you, Nolan did it first. I thought it was 07.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna land at a 7.5 for this movie. It's really good.
Save that behind.
It's worth the watch. Is it maybe like a little overly sexualized and all this kind of stuff? Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just like an eye candy, you know, like you were saying.
Produced by Harvey Weinstein Production. You know?
Yeah, it's legendary, which I was kind of surprised that it was that big.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean it shows its age and all that kind of thing. I'm sure it's gonna not get better given time, but you know, as it stands, I still think it looks cool, and you know, it's in a sense it's just like a bunch of girls just kicking ass and killing Nazis and fighting dragons and flying airplanes and doing a bunch of cool shit, and I just found that enjoyable.
It did it before
And I know,
Glorious
like-
Bastards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the better Nazi
Mad
slaying
Max.
movie? That's the question I meant to ask.
I wonder.
Yeah. But without further ado, we've only got one thing left.
Yeah.
Where is
I know
it?
what that
Spin that
is.
wheel!
I'm gonna spin it. I'm gonna spin it in a moment. I gotta get on this side though. So. Sorry,
You get in front of me.
Yep. Man, it's really stiff on that little part right there. Okay, that's what he said. Okay, you good?
Yeah.
All right, my money's on Bad Education this time.
All right, place your bets.
More Hugh Jackman.
Oh, is Hugh
I'm
Jackman?
gonna go Casablanca and just
Yeah.
rip that Band-Aid right off.
Ooh.
I would like to watch that.
I've never seen it.
Ask and you shall
I haven't either.
receive.
It's a red one.
Oh.
What do we got?
A Quiet Place.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright.
This has John Krasinski and his wife in there.
It is his wife.
It does.
Emily Bloom.
Blunt.
Blunt. Yeah, there we go.
Blunt.
Sorry, one of those. was
Brothers
right.
Bloom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're getting confused with the other Blooms.
Yeah.
Rachel
that's
Wise is Bloom.
Yeah. Anyway, that's our show for today. If you like the content or our ratings or just anything we do,
If you've beaten this game, let us know in the comments.
yeah, if you're
We want
like,
to know what happens.
yeah,
It's a really fun game.
I had a friend of
I
mine who played
highly
this.
recommend this. I recommend this above the movie. This is one of the.
Wait, the animated movie or the live action movie?
Well, I was
The
meaning
new
the
one.
movie that we just
Oh,
did
over
a
Sucker
review
Punch.
of.
Okay, yeah.
But
That's
yeah,
fair.
sure. I think this is a really great take on Alice in Wonderland.
very
It's
dark.
Zack
what's
Snyder
his
produced it.
name? It's like Archie McFay or something like that. Is
Uh-huh.
the guy that did a lot of the design work for this, like the art style of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you can see his Bioshock effect all over this one, but it's EA, so that tracks. So EA BioWare, that was Bioshock
yeah,
stuff, right?
it's got style. It's got a neat story. Check it out too. It's gonna be worth it.
Yeah, much love to the game, some love to the movie. Unless you're priced, no love to the minimal love. He gave it like
The,
minimal
the absolute tiniest bit of love that he could muster.
And as we're signing off, if you're that robot who's leaving us comments about hot, sexy singles in our area,
We see you.
Oh,
you know what?
I've
Just
not
keep
even
just
noticed
keep
that.
doing it. It gets us a comment. So you know what? Do whatever.
Yeah, guys, we keep doing this every week. Give us some validation, please.
Let us know someone's watching.
Yeah, hit the bell, subscribe, comment. Come on, guys.
Oh.
Men need affection too. That's our show.
Bye.
That is our show.
Tune in
Goodbye.
next week.
For a quiet place. That one.